Welcome to the Dr. April Jasper Show, relevant conversations for business owners of today. We are thrilled to have CooperVision as a sponsor of our show. CooperVision is a global leader in contact lenses, serving eye care professionals and lens wearers in over 130 countries with the widest range of prescription options. CooperVision can be trusted to have a contact lens that meets your vision, lifestyle, and budget needs. From 1 day to 1 month replacement lenses, there are lenses for most prescriptions in any lifestyle or budget. CooperVision brings us the first and only soft contact lens designed for myopia control and FDA approved to slow the progression of myopia in age-appropriate children. Thank you to CooperVision for living your mission to provide innovative products to help millions of people see better each day. Welcome, everyone. You know, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and so Sandra and I are both wearing pink in honor of that. And, you know, I just want to introduce you to someone who I think is super special. So Dr. Sandra Spender, we are classmates. So we graduated together.
A long time ago.
We were just talking about how interesting it is that we spent 4 years together and now almost 30 have gone by. So I hope you don't mind. I told everybody exactly how old we are.
It's fine.
But what's really cool is that our children are both in optometry school right now. Well, two of ours, meaning our daughter and your son.
Yep.
Not at the same school, unfortunately, but they will graduate together. So that's going to be cool.
Be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and so much has happened in that 30 years. So I want to get started by first, Sandra, tell us a little bit about you. And I won't divulge yet why you're here, other than that I love her. And she's local, so it's really cool too. And we were classmates, of course. But I want you to tell them, what are you doing today? So you are an optometrist. You're practicing optometry here local in town. And then tell us a little bit about your journey and why are you so passionate about this Awareness Month and what we're talking about today.
Well, like you said, I have a couple offices here in town. And but what makes my story interesting is that I'm an actual survivor of breast cancer. And November 15th will actually be a 25-year survivor.
Wow.
To be honest. So do the math backwards. And
right
I
after
was young.
school.
I was very young. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I was right after school. So that's made me very passionate about the month of October and breast cancer and eye health and breast cancer.
Absolutely. So tell us, I mean, you were out of school, that means, for about 5 years.
Correct.
And where were you in your journey? Married, with children? Talk to us a little bit about that.
So that's kind of where the story begins. My husband and I got married, and actually I switched insurances. And so I had to switch my OBGYN, went for my annual exam, thinking maybe I'll look into having some children soon or something like that. Went to the new doctor, the annual exam. And during the exam, he did a breast exam. And after that, we finished the rest of the exam. And he said, why don't you stay here at the office? It's 3:30. I think my last patient's in an hour, and I need to talk to you in my office. I said, okay.
Oh, my gosh.
And during the time that he did my breast exam, he kept saying, put your hand up, put your arm down, put this. And I said, by the way, my grandmother died of breast cancer. He said, I saw that on your paperwork. So I leave the office and I wait out in the waiting room. He calls me back and he sits me down and he says, I think you have breast cancer. I was 29 at the time. And I said, okay. I said, well, my grandmother had it. He goes, yes. And we discussed it. And he goes, I think at the least you probably need a mastectomy.
What?
Right there. Yeah. I can't believe it. So I was kind of shocked, let it sink in. And I said, okay. I go, what do I do now? And he goes, well, you got to go get a mammogram and a ultrasound. So he goes, I'm going to arrange that for tomorrow. And I said, well, I can't go tomorrow. I have patients. I have to work. He goes, no, I don't think you understand. I can remember this conversation exactly like it was yesterday. He goes, no, I don't think you understand. You're not going to work tomorrow. You're going to stay at the phone starting at 7 a.m. and I'm going to start calling people and you're going to go wherever I tell you to go. And you're going to sit there and wait until they call you in and you get an ultrasound and a mammogram.
Yeah.
So I went home, a little shock. And the crazy part about it was November 15th, which is would have been my second wedding anniversary.
Oh.
So my husband and I had planned to go down to Delray to dinner with some friends, actually a girlfriend that lives on Ardmore here.
Right here.
And she met us in downtown Delray for dinner, and I was just kind of pale, I guess, and they were kind of like, what's wrong? And I said, this is what happened to me today. So my mom and my husband, though, when I first got home, were there, and I called them to come over. They came over. We had a good cry. And I said, well, we don't know anything. Let's not panic too much. But I was pretty upset. And my mother, obviously, since her mother passed away of premenopausal breast cancer as well, she was very upset, needless to say.
Wow. So then what?
So I went there and they did the ultrasound. And of course, that day, my luck have it, the doctor was out sick. So there was just a technician there to do the ultrasound and the mammogram. So she was not allowed to tell me any results. But knowing what we do of ultrasounds that we've done, I could see the monitor from where I was laying, and it looked like a sea urchin on the monitor. So I knew right then that it was not good news. So went home, cried some more, had some hot tea. My family is a hot tea family. Whenever there's a crisis, we bring out
hot
the teapot.
Hot tea makes everything better.
Went home, cried, and the next day the doctor called, and she said, I wanted to talk to you. I said, yeah, they told me you may have me come back in today since you weren't there yesterday. She goes, oh no, I don't need you to come in today. It's breast cancer.
Oh my gosh.
So we got to get you to the surgeon. She goes, I'm going to call the OBGYN. I'm going to arrange something with him, and that's where you're going to go. I said, okay. So I said, well, I got to go to work. She's like, oh no, you're not going to work today. So we canceled all that day's patients again. And I waited for a phone call, and they said, you're going to go to this surgeon's office, who was just the most wonderful surgeon. And you're going to sit there. And I don't know which of the 3 surgeons you're going to see, but they're breast surgeons, and they're going to call you in, and we're going to come up with a plan. So I went to the office about 1 p.m, sat there till about 4. And they called me in, and doctor at the time was Dr. Michael Patton, and I'll never forget him either. A wonderful man. And he told me, you must be lying about your age. He goes, are you sure you're 29? And I said, yes, I'm 29. And he said, well, he goes, we're told that we're going to see one person in our lifetime under the age of 35. And he goes, I refuse to believe that today you're the person that I'm going to see with breast cancer that's under 35. He goes, there's just no way. He goes, I don't believe it. And he kept joking around. Are you sure? Women like to lie about their age. He was very kind and trying to make light of the situation. And we joked around a lot. And so I left there feeling pretty good, because he's like, it's not going to be you. There's no way.
Yep.
About a week later, I had a excisional biopsy. And Dr. Patton, who was this jovial, wonderful man, looked in my door at Good Samaritan Hospital and said, I'll let you know, and shut the door. And I knew right then it was cancer. He didn't want to come in and tell me.
Oh my gosh.
I really think he liked me that much. He didn't want to come in and actually tell me that it was cancer. So about a week later or so, they get the pathology back. He calls me to the office. I sit down. He's like, listen, you have breast cancer, which I pretty much had figured. Mm-hmm. So that began a real life change for my husband and I, and my family and his family. They were also supportive. And we kind of just started the journey there. The first thing we had to go do is do a bunch of more tests and different things. And I wanted a double mastectomy. I didn't want a single. Mm-hmm. At the time, they did not, I'm not going to say they didn't allow it. They frowned upon it for women to have a double mastectomy electively. And I just felt like if I remove my breast, it's like the tip of an iceberg. And there's more chances as I get older down here that of the tip that I would have breast cancer recurrence. Yep. And I thought, if I'm just aggressive at this and just take it off, if I don't have an arm, I can't break it. Right. So I just wanted both my breasts removed. Finally, the surgeon, Dr. Patton, agreed as long as I went and got counseling. I had to get psychological counseling for a few days beforehand. And if I still wanted to continue with the plan, that he would do it. So that's what I ended up doing. Upon that surgery, and
you're still working?
Trying to work.
Oh my gosh.
Upon that plan, they do a lymph node dissection. And unfortunately, my lymph nodes were also infected. So it was metastatic, and the tumor was the size a little over an inch. So I would end up being stage 3A.
Oh, wow.
That was my stage. So they were, again, everyone in the community was shocked that I was so far advanced at such a young age. So at the time then too, this is a little personal, but my OBGYN sent me to the oncologist, medical oncologist, not just the surgeon.
Right.
And she's like, you can't get pregnant, whatever you do, because you're estrogen receptor positive. So if you got pregnant, that's estrogen's throwing on a fire. So we can't get you pregnant. She goes, you got to go get some birth control. And they couldn't do hormonal birth control. So I had to go get a diaphragm. So she went with me, and the office next door, she got me in.
Wow.
I did that. And her name is Dr. Elizabeth McKean, and she's been my rock for many, many years.
Yep.
She's like, just can't get pregnant. So I said, okay. So we start the process. I get the double mastectomy. Now we're doing chemo. And I don't feel well at all. And even though I'm newly married, you know, that kind of thing is not exactly on the forefront of my mind when I have no hair.
Right.
I'm vomiting. I'm nauseous. Like that. Being with my husband is not my priority.
Right.
After the first chemo as well, I lost my period because of the type of chemo I was taking is actually to stop the estrogen in my body. So I went through menopause from the first chemo on in 99, December of 99. I never have had a cycle since.
Wow.
So they still said, just use your birth control because God forbid. So fast forward, I do chemo January. It was like, I guess it was January 7th was my first chemo. And we went through to August when I finished, and I still was sick as a dog. I was nauseated. I didn't feel good again. I was like, I told the oncologist,
this
can't be normal. She said, you just got hit by a truck every 3 weeks for the last 7 months. Like, it's normal. You're okay.
Wow.
I said, well, if I didn't know better, I would say this is how it feels to be pregnant because I'm completely nauseated.
Yep.
She goes, well, can you be? And I said, well, no, because we've only had relations 3 times, and I've been using a diaphragm, and I
did what you told me to do.
I haven't had a cycle for 9 months or whatever. So no, I don't think so. She's like, let's do a pregnancy test. I said, all right. So she does a pregnancy test. Right then and there, we get the results back. And I'm not just pregnant with the HCG levels. I am like 3 times the amount of a normal pregnancy with the HCG levels. She goes, you're very pregnant. And I said, oh my gosh. So I had absolutely no clue. So she marched me next door to the OBGYN, the same one that found the tumor in the first place. And they said, okay, now we got to do a ultrasound. He does a exam on my stomach. He goes, yeah, you're pregnant. And he goes, let's do an ultrasound to find out how far along you are. So my husband's with me at the time. We go in the room. They do a intravaginal ultrasound, and the monitor's there just like it was the day that they found my tumor in my breast. It's sitting there. And I'm looking over, and the technician goes, guys, there's 2 sacs here. It's twins.
Oh.
And my husband, I'll never forget, he went up against the wall and he said, he goes, I don't deal well with spontaneity, as probably most engineers would say. And he almost passed out. So they start fanning him. I'm laying on the table, unable to speak because I don't even know what to say.
Yeah.
So the next thing you know, he's okay. I'm okay. I get dressed and, we kind of had to make a decision. They told me right then and there, in the state of Florida, it's 20 weeks for having an abortion.
Right.
And I never once even crossed my mind because I just felt God had a plan. And I just had to trust it.
Okay, I need to clean this. Keep talking now.
The funny part, so while we're sitting there waiting to go in for the ultrasound, there's magazines on the table, and one of them I pick up, I start paging through. It's Twin magazine, and I still have it to this day.
That original one?
The original one. And I'm paging through it, and I said to my husband, Mike, Mike, at least we never have to worry about this because there's no twins on either side of our family. And so we were joking about that, and so then I went in, and it was twins. It's incredible. Yeah, I still have that original magazine.
So how far along were you at that time?
They think I was about 3.5, 4 months at this point.
Wow.
So the scary part for us is I'd been getting chemo. this whole time that I was pregnant, because I had no idea.
Yep.
Dr. McKean was confident. She's like, nope, you're going to be fine. This is not normal. And I don't know of too many people that this has happened to, but I'm confident. My OBGYN to this day has told me that I put him on high blood pressure medication. He thought he was gonna
Sandra.
stroke out because of me. And we went through the pregnancy, and I got to 33 and a half weeks, and it was a boy and a girl. And here, I was never supposed to have children. At one point in time, I had discussed harvesting eggs and freezing them with my oncologist, and in the nicest way possible. She just said, we got to get you to the next drug. And I'm not sure, what good's a child without a mother, in a sense. And in the nicest way that you could possibly tell that to me. So we kind of put that aside, and thought, well, we got to just concentrate on getting well, and what will happen will happen. Well, again, God has a plan.
Yep.
Just wish he'd let me in on it. That's my famous.
So just so you guys
words.
know, we've already said that once or twice today before starting the recording, and it's just. But you don't go back. And I think Sandra, when we talked about this earlier, what we talked about is the fact that you even said, and there's an article coming out. So for any of you who want to read more about the whole, not Sandra's story as much as what she's given us as far as information that we need to be thinking about as far as eye-related things that can happen with breast cancer patients. But when you read that story, you'll see at the very end, there's a statement that you made, which I couldn't wait to hear the story behind the statement. And you can tell them what that was. We are grateful to have OcuSoft as a sponsor of our show. Since 1986, OcuSoft has served the community with a unique selection of proprietary brands, from dry eye care and protection with Retain line of artificial tears to eyelid hygiene with OcuSoft Lid Scrub eyelid cleansers essential for maintaining healthy eyes. Zoria Skincare from OcuSoft offers revolutionary products for people with sensitive skin and eyes. Thank you to OcuSoft for being the #1 doctor-recommended brand of eyelid cleansers and providing patients and doctors with products and supplies to continue to keep our eyes healthy.
Well, I'm not sure exactly the statement, but, so going through this journey and learning what I have, and having the kids and becoming empathetic and learning more about cancer and supportive family members and, God's plan and whatever else it all encompasses, because it's friends, it's everything. It really, people say, oh, I'm so sorry that you had to do that. That's a very common reaction I get. I'm so sorry for you. I'm not. I think it's one of the best things that happened.
Yeah.
And if it was up to me, I'd do it all over again.
And that's what she said. And I think if you hear what Sandra's saying, it's really amazing, because when you're in school and you're going through the things that we're learning and doing, you don't have any idea what life is going to be like in 5 years. I mean, we have 2 colleagues that we just found out passed away this last week that are in their 50s, like us.
Yep.
And you just don't know what tomorrow is.
Or what it'll bring.
Exactly. But what you do know is that the lessons you learn along the way can absolutely be life-changing. And look at your babies now.
Yep. I have 2 beautiful children, husband, successful practice. I'm so lucky. And again, I think that going through my journey and going through the terror and the ups and the downs and the surgeries and the chemo and the fear and the joy of it all has made me who I am. And I like who I am, and I'm very happy to be me, and I would do it all over again.
Yep. What about that time you spent in that window of knowing that you were pregnant and you still had chemo to finish, right? Did you still have?
No, so just so happens I had finished it the week before.
Wow.
And my oncologist was in England. She was in London, I think. And she was coming back that Monday, and I had the appointment with her, and I, had known I hadn't felt very well. And I even said to Mike, I said, again, if I didn't know better, you'd think I was pregnant, because why am I so sick again? I thought like that, because at the very end of chemo, I was taking Taxol. It's not quite as strong of a,
anti-nausea?
it doesn't make you as nauseated and stuff. So I said, I feel like I'm taking some heavy duty ones again. I took Cytoxan, adriamycin, and Taxol. But when she got back on Monday, I was one of the patients that day, and and so there was a lot of tears in her office that day too, and there was a lot of tears at the OBGYN that day too. It was quite a day, that's for sure. Quite a day.
Some of the learnings along the way. I mean, how can you even say? You've told us already it was life-changing in more than one way, but my goodness, you got your babies.
Yep.
You guys have a fabulous life together.
Yep.
And all of it is as a result of what you went through.
Yep. Because maybe I wouldn't have had twins. Maybe I wouldn't have had children. I mean, nobody knows those answers. But again, I believe in the path and the journey.
Yep.
And I'm very grateful.
So what encouragement would you give somebody else that's going through something right now, Sandra?
Definitely just put your head to the finish line and just keep going straight at it. Don't stick your head in the sand. It's better to take it head on. And, I believe that, for me, it was mind, body, and soul to fight the cancer. I prayed more than I've ever prayed to God in my entire life. I did my body. I did the chemo. I did the surgeries. I did the medicate. I did everything I could for that. And then for my mind, I did some, like what they call Reiki, and it's like an ancient thing where they're supposed to transfer power and positivity to your body and to help with healing. So I did kind of everything, mind, body, and soul. And I think that that's kind of what everyone's approach should be. I don't think it's maybe necessarily one answer.
Right. That's
but
good.
Definitely get checked, first of all.
Yep.
Do self breast exams. Get your mammogram every year. If you see something odd, report it. I'm telling you, so many friends going through this journey that have had breast cancer. And even some of them said, I reported it. Everything came out normal. My mammogram, but ultrasound, it all came out normal. But weeks later, I still felt what I shouldn't be there. And I went to a different doctor, and I went and persisted at the same doctor's office. I went and had another mammogram. And sure enough, they found something. So if you see or feel something's not right with your body, follow up on it.
Right.
Follow up on it.
So for the folks that are listening that don't know much about breast cancer as a condition and didn't know that it was related, had anything to do with eye disease, I know you've done so much, and you've done a lot of volunteer work for a few different organizations. Yep. So tell us a little bit about the volunteer work, and then help us to know what should we be thinking about as far as eye-related diseases, conditions that go along with this.
I was involved in a young survivors group, breast cancer group, which was great for me. I think that being at 30, then at the time I turned 30 at that point, it's a little different than when you're 80 or 85, not completely, but a different. And that young survivors group was great for me to be in. And then I became involved in the Susan G. Komen Foundation, which has just been a great, miraculous nonprofit that has helped so many women get mammograms, help them if they're out of work. I mean, it does everything from the beginning to the end there of treatment. Was a race chair with my friend Karen. But I used to give back. And I think too, even talking today and then giving back with the Komen, or even when I'm in my exam room with my patients, it's actually therapy for me too. It's almost like being with a psychologist or doing whatever to help somebody else is actually therapy for me. That's so those have all been ways to have my own therapy selfishly and help somebody else.
That's good. So Sandra, breast cancer treatments and the medications that people are put on, they can affect the eye as well, right? What are some of the things that we should be looking for in our patients? Yes.
With tamoxifen, that's a estrogen receptor. It blocks the receptors, so it causes dry eyes. And it also can cause crystals in the peramacular area, which can cause a vision loss. There's also aromatase inhibitors that are used postmenopausal, and they can cause different types of cataracts and different problems with maculopathy as well. The one thing that we need to do, I guess, if somebody came in with breast cancer, my one thing that I would say, or if you know somebody that has it and hasn't had an eye exam, you really need to get a baseline eye exam, comprehensive eye exam, including an OCT and a color test, just so that we can have that as our baseline. If they're on tamoxifen or an aromatase inhibitor, then really they should be seen every 4 to 6 months. And that should be followed closely to see if there's any kind of changes in that.
Okay. So that's what we should be educating our patients
Yes.
about. Likely their doctors are as well.
Well, yep. We
But-
got to hope.
Yeah, we would hope so,
Yep.
but we need to be aware of it. What about cancer in the eye? What percentage, or do we know what is that relationship? Breast cancer.
So
and
retina is one of the places that metastatic breast cancer will show up. And it can cause a space occupying lesion too, an orbital tumor,
okay.
as a secondary metastatic tumor. They do believe that lung cancer, breast cancer are two of the top ones that would cause that tumor in the orbit as a metastatic tumor.
Okay.
That being said, it's a low percentage. I think it's 0 to 6%. It's a very low percentage. But of the tumors that are there, those two are the highest likelihood of being the metastatic type.
Okay. So we heard you say at the very beginning, there are times you come out of your exam room with your patients and you have tears in your eyes. I guess it's likely because you've told your story in an effort to help them. That happens.
A lot. Yeah. I tell them to give them hope too, that,
Yeah.
like I said, they didn't even want me to freeze my eggs and thought, what good's a child without a mother?
Gosh.
And here I am. I have 23-year-old twins that are doing great. And I'm a mom and I'm still working and I'm still alive. Also, not only do I share my story, but I also want to hear their stories.
Yes.
Again, it's a type of therapy for me.
Yep. That's awesome. Sandra, I love the most I think, let me back up. So when we were in school, not one of us could have predicted the journey we would be on.
No.
And I think about us sitting in class and listening to our instructors and being so excited about the day we'd actually be in practice. I guess I'm kind of grateful they don't ever talk about the fact that one day you might live the things that you're telling your patients about. We're not probably ready for it then. But as I fast forward and as you fast forward to today and we think about the journey we've been on, it has been incredible. Are you glad that you're an optometrist?
Oh, I love my job. You can ask probably any of my patients if I like my job. I love my job. I truly love my job. I love it. I don't know what else I would do.
Yeah, it's a great profession to be in. And the fact that the eye is so related to everything else is something that most people don't know. So I love bringing that awareness to them as well. So I promise everybody as they listen that our podcast will always be inspirational and educational. You have done both, but I know that anyone that's listening would want me to tell you how much we love you and appreciate you sharing your story, because that can't be easy either.
No, again, it's therapy, and I still cry after all these years. My anniversary's coming up, wedding and cancer anniversary's coming up. So we usually have a good cry that day too. But it's not easy, but again, it's good therapy. And I think people need to know, even when diagnosed with a terrible thing and not such a great outcome possibly, that nobody knows everything.
Yep.
And you got to fight.
That's right.
Do what has to be done.
And you are that. I knew that from the beginning.
Thank you.
Sandra, we love you. We appreciate you. Thanks for sharing your story, and just keep us up to date with things that we as optometrists need to be thinking about.
Absolutely.
Thank you for writing an article for Optometric Management Magazine, and for you that want to look up more information on the story, but also just breast cancer in the eye. That's a good place to start. Other resources as we close, tell us, what would you like to close with? So that as well, but also other resources that people can use to look up anything you think that might be important.
Well, I want to tell you, I think the Susan G. Komen Foundation is an amazing organization. If you're never had a mammogram or don't know how to get one, they will explain it to you. They will help you do that. If you're going through treatment now and you're struggling financially, again, they have another department that would try to help you with that. So I think any of these nonprofits that are out there, please reach out for the help. You're not alone. I think a lot of people feel like they're going through this journey alone, and you don't have to.
Thank you, Dr. Sandra Spender.
Thank you.